Hey everybody, so I'm sure that most of you have heard this story about the young boy in Colorado who wanted to join the Girl Scouts. Um, Now, there are probably a million videos out there about this, so I'm not even going to touch that subject. Instead, I'm going to tackle the comments that I've been seeing about this. The most prevalent of which is that this mother should just tell the child no, and that will somehow remedy the situation. For those who not in the know, I come from a slightly conservative background. I was raised by a Mormon mother and a partially Jewish father. I can't really call him Jewish, but that's how I was raised. I was raised pretty conservatively. So when I was about 4 years old, which is, trust me on this one, when you're transgendered, especially when you're a primary transgender, you know from such an early age. I knew from the time that I could walk. But when I was 4 or 5 years old, somewhere in there, I tried to come out to my mom and I tried to tell her, no, I'm a girl. I don't want to be a boy. I don't want to grow up and I don't want to be a man. I want to be a girl forever. I don't want to be that. And she essentially told me, well, that's not what you are. This is what you are. This is what you have to be. And this is what people are going to expect of you. She forced me into the Boy Scouts. I was in the Boy Scouts for 3 years. And let me just tell you this right now, for all the parents out there with transgendered children wondering if this is the right road, it's not. It's not. Unless you want to drive your child away. I resent my mother with such a passion. I rarely speak to her. I don't live with her. I moved out the first chance I got. I do not speak to her unless I absolutely have to. For the last 3 years, I've now lived away from her. I've seen her on major holidays. I've seen her maybe 6 times this last year, and she lives in the same city as me. She lives 20 minutes walking. I don't like her. I don't like talking to her. She doesn't approve of my lifestyle. She doesn't approve of who I am, and I still remember very clearly her telling me that she doesn't agree with me, and she didn't let me be who I was. So growing up, I was taught that I should be ashamed of myself, and I was taught that this is a bad thing, which made me a very easy target for bullies because they saw that I wasn't proud of myself. They saw that I didn't have support, and I didn't, because if I went to my mom and I told her they called me a faggot, she would just be like, well, isn't that what you are? And it's so hard to convey to people that it's like, this is what I need. And a lot of people kind of come back with this response of, you need to be the parent, you need to take charge, you need to tell them what's what, and they'll fall in line. No, they won't. Even if they do, it will be very shallow, and you're essentially instilling into them that everything they are is wrong, and they're going to grow up and they're going to hate you. I hate to put it that way, I really do, but they're going to resent you, and they are going to avoid you like the plague, because that's what I do with my mom. And I have a lot of transgendered friends who have been through the exact same thing where their parents have told them, no, this is who you are. This is what you have to be. My best friend Atticus was forced into the Girl Scouts when he was, God, 9 years old, 10 years old. And his mom doesn't get it very readily. And he resents her for it. And I resent my mom for it. And dozens of trans people resent their parents for forcing them to be something that they're not. Because as many of you point out, this is going to make it so hard for him when he's in school. Do you know what makes it a lot harder for someone when they're in school? A parent who doesn't like you. And I know, well, I love them unconditionally. That's not what you're telling them. What you're telling them is, I love you, but not all of you. I love this part of you. I don't like that part of you. I don't want you I don't want to even acknowledge that part of you. When in actuality, what you should be telling them is, I love you, and I want you to be happy, and I want you to be healthy, and I want to raise a productive person. Because to say normal person that's really shallow, because you can't really define a normal person. So you really should take the time to get to know who your child is, because forcing them into a role that they're not comfortable in, that is bad. That's distinctly bad. Going both ways. Telling a transgendered child, no, you have to be the gender you were assigned, is bad. That's distinctly bad. However, if your boy likes playing with dolls, but is still identified as a boy, don't force him to be a girl, because it's just a boy that likes to play with girls. Play with girl toys. But if you have a daughter and she likes football, then she's just a girl who likes football. She's not transgendered. As long as she still identifies as a girl. Once she says, no, I'm not a girl, then you have to listen. And again, first person, straight from the horse's mouth on this one, my mom was not very supportive on it. And I can tell you, if my mom had been there for me, life in high school and life in junior high school would have been so much easier. Instead, when I was 11, I started self-harming. And when I was 14, I was the first time I attempted suicide. Well, actually, I was 13 when I first attempted suicide, and then it carried over to when I was 14. So throughout my freshman year of high school, I attempted 3 times. So that should really tell you that it's like, this isn't something that's just going to go away because you want it to. This is something you need to take heed of, and it's something that you should really take responsibility of as a parent, and understand that this is your child. But I don't know, like I said, I've heard a lot of really bad comments about just say no, and if you force it on them, then they'll be good, and it's like, no. They might act good, but you're raising a rebel. That's what you're doing, and they're not going to like you, and when they're 16, they're going to run away, and that's what's going to happen. That's what happened with me, and that's what happens with everybody. You either are yourself or you're not, and if you're not, then that's just inviting more trouble. But I really hope that this has helped at least someone. I really hope that you guys, that at least one person takes my word for it and accepts their child, because gender identity isn't something that you can just wish away. It's not something that goes away, and your child is going to have a lot of hard time struggling with it. But it's not because your child is confused about it. It's because your child is being raised that society tells them that this is wrong. And as long as their parents are there, as long as their mother is there, their father is there, and tells them, no, this is okay, this is who you are, then they're going to be a much more confident individual. And isn't it better to have a confident, stable, happy, healthy child than a normal one?